Hello, everybody, or anybody for that matter. Let's see if I can put some information out there on the live stream. Hey, Dart. Hey, Mike on the Bayou. Well, I guess I probably won't even type anything. There's no real reason to. You guys are sitting here. Hello, Sismon. Yeah, the red dot of Flurf death coming to you live from Big Blue's Cavendish Emporium. So I started to do one of these yesterday, but I was a bit remiss, didn't get around to it. And I've been goofing around all day today. Should have been out here earlier, but what the heck. Better late than never, huh? So this is just going, all I'm going to do today is just a routine test. But some of you may have seen the output that we got from a time-lapse video that I shot a couple of days ago, and then running that through the tracker software. Get some really pretty graphs doing that. I like that so much that I've decided that for the balance of the test that I run, probably another half a dozen maybe. That's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to shoot a time lapse on each one of them. So we got an excellent permanent record of exactly how this thing behaved, plus the YouTube video backing it up. So I'm thinking this stream probably will go 3 hours or so. I've got it set for 400, I think. Let me go check something. Yeah, I set the camera up for 400 frames at 20 seconds a frame. So 400 divided by 3. That's a bit over 2 hours. Not much. And I just moved the masses from the, where did I start? East to the west position. East to the west. What did I say in the, I may have to edit that. So, shout out to JSS Tiger for a $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. Are we taking the oscillation decay into account today? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how anybody gets that confused. I mean, just you only have to be capable of reading Wikipedia, for God's sakes. Yeah, I think it should be fairly clear if you just read a Wikipedia article that if you get a pendulum that's oscillating at in a small angle, the period never changes. That's the beautiful thing about the period of a pendulum. I think it was Sir Isaac Newton that figured that out. The story that I remember was, I think it was Newton, sitting in church looking at one of those big fixtures where with candles or whatever they used in those days, lanterns, watching it swing with a little bit of air, a little breeze blowing through the place. And I think he was the one that first noticed that, those are pretty small oscillations, but no matter how much it oscillated, it was always the same period. So, and then you turn around and have people like Sleeping Warrior trying to claim that the period should be varying. No, it shouldn't. It absolutely should not. 9 people watching. Hey, thanks for showing up. Hello, Mark 10. Galileo, you think? Yeah, it could have been. Very well could have been. Alien Believers, I see you out there. Dart, I think I already called your name out. I think so. Yeah, it might have been Galileo. I don't remember. I just remember the story. One of them was it was literally watching a lighting thing in a church, I think. So somebody can fill in the details about that, I'm sure. I don't have Discord running. I could do that, I suppose. And let's see. Now, if I can find my channel, it's down here somewhere. There it is. Okay, so I'm up and running on Discord too. Anybody that feels like joining, please be my guest. Hello, Joe King. No, I agree. I couldn't take much more of the flurfs on Jose's show either. They want to sit in there and run their mouth about the scientific method. I don't think I need to hear it from them. Room Fondell, hello there. How you doing this afternoon? So the cool part about these just straight observations of this nature are that I really don't have to do anything. I can just sit here and watch this, like you guys, because the camera's taking the data for me. Wonderful. After sitting a day, I noticed that the position of the laser had shifted again downscale by another 20 millimeters or so. So the tungsten wire just continues to relax very slowly over time. I read, this was interesting, one of the places that I looked at where they actually talked about using tungsten as a torsion element were the tests that they performed, that the National Bureau of Standards performed back in 1942. And according to them, their tungsten tension or torsion wire required 3 months to finally stop drifting. Well, we're not going to wait 3 months. We're going to do it, and we're just going to finish this thing up so we can move on to something else. Art says Mr. Sensible's got a premiere in 4 minutes. I didn't know that. So I probably picked a bad time to do this. But that's okay. I'll be here. Mike on the Bayou says he looked at Leakey's creation and all you can think is what the... Yeah, I know. That's how it is with Leakey. What's up with this Flatzoid copyright strike? Mike, if you can fill me in a couple of sentences in the chat. I wasn't aware of it. I'll tell you who's going to get a copyright strike if he ever does it again, and that's Brian Leakey. I don't know if you guys ever heard the or have seen the hit piece Leakey did on me the other day. And when I looked at it, I refused to respond to it. I'm not gonna get down and wrestle in the mud with that pig. What he did was absolutely ridiculous. I think several people, hell, it's well documented. I knew I was live. I mean, you know, back when I was looking into the static electricity issues, I made an offhanded comment, just a joking comment that I could prove mass, repelling mass, and that little bastard took that and made a hit piece on me, trying to claim that I proved mass repelled mass. If you're listening to me, Leakey, you ever do a thing like that again, and I will copyright strike your ass. That's just the kind of low life shit I expected out of you. Okay, I feel better now. Sean Hawkins says, I never got an answer to my question on the glass fiber. Rome Fondell says, my father has a master clock from a factory. The bar for the pendulum is made from tungsten because its expansion versus temperature is tiny. And of course, that's the critical thing about a gravity pendulum is the length of it. Well, only two things, really. The length of it and what local gravity happens to be for you, which is not, of course, the same everywhere on the planet. It'll vary slightly. So, once they're calibrated, though, the last thing you want to do is have the damn pendulum change length. I think my grandfather clock pendulum bar arm is brass, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Sean says, have I tried testing glass strand as a torsion wire? With 1.6 kilograms hanging on that thing? No, I haven't tried it, Sean. Number one, I wouldn't know how to attach it. Number two, the design of this Cavendish requires that you've got to be able to bend that torsion wire to some extent just to get the thing installed in there. So I can't imagine I could put a glass rod in there, or a glass strand in there, and not break it. What might have been interesting is some form of ribbon. But again, what form of ribbon? I mean, what do you use? And I didn't want to get into a whole damn development program just on the torsion element when we know what wire is and where to get it. just figure out what kind of wire to get, how big it ought to be. That's all. What's this crazy thing doing? So the oscillation right now has got it down around 182. Suppose I could take some notes and try to keep track of this a little bit. 411, 182. Looks like it's moving. It started moving up scale. I might have caught it right about at the bottom extreme. Sean says his grandfather clock had a wooden pendulum. You know, and that really wouldn't be a bad idea, because the way you would make that arm for a clock pendulum would be obviously the grain running up the length of the thing, and that's the direction where wood is actually pretty stable. Wood expands across the grain, not with the grain. It may expand slightly with the grain, but not very much. That's what I have to think about when I'm making furniture, which way the grain is running and which way the moisture expansion is going to cause it to go. I don't think I've ever seen Sleepy in here either, Sean. But he can't come in here now because I banned him. I banned him for coming in here continually calling me a liar. I'm sick and tired of people saying that. So what other fun things have been going on? Anybody got any hot gossip we can talk about? I'll go over to Jose's and let him know I'm live if he wants to put this thing up as a background or something. There, give Jose a little heads up. Maybe he'll decide to mirror it or something. Uh-oh, red dot's gone screaming off to the right-hand side. 220, 221. Ah. Thrilling, isn't it? I'll just tell you that, you know, the first battery of tests that ended up being 14 tests, where I was using the balance with the smaller 330-gram balls on it, um, produced a value for Big G that was about 0.7% lower than the accepted value. And so far through, I think 10, 10 tests I've run on this balance with the 780-gram balls on it. And some of them to start with were a few of them were the beryllium copper wire. But as of that test 2 days ago, these are averaging about 0.5% higher right now. If I took the whole thing as a whole, it'd be damn near exactly um, what the accepted value for G is. So our laser's up to 255, and that ought to be getting close to the top end of it because I caught it at 411. And it's now 419. We'll say it's about 255. Doesn't matter. We'll go back and pull all this data off the recordings later. Plus, I've got this time lapse, and that's even better because I can run that through the tracker software and get very precise measurements of the magnitudes. Got 12 people watching. Hey, thanks for showing up. That's a pretty good turnout for mid part of the afternoon on a Tuesday. Sean Hawkins in the chat says one of the longest running clocks in the world is an all wooden clock made by the man who collected the longitude prize, the world's first X Prize. I didn't know that, Sean. John Harrison, I suppose, is the guy's name, huh? That's interesting. Yeah, nobody says you got to make a clock out of metal. You can make it out of wood if you like. There's some wood out there as hard as a lot of softer metal. Lignin vita, for instance. You can't even cut that stuff with woodworking tools. Ooh, 11:20 there, huh, Judy? You're up late. How's the job going? And the Elmings, hello, sir. After some spectacular derp, it's good to settle down and watch science again. I'm still trying to recover from Brian Leakey claiming that uh, azimuth is your zenith. That poor guy just talks to hear himself talk, I think. Totally clueless as to how stupid he actually sounds. Uh, Judy says, great, that's good to know. Probably fun to be back at work. I wouldn't mind it. Would not mind it at all. So I need to keep an eye on this thing. I've got 400 frames to shoot, and I want to reverse these weights just before the midpoint. And that would be probably around 453, something like that. Jaron Bismer from the Netherlands. Yeah, have a good evening. This will be up and ready for viewing a little bit later tonight. I'm going to let this stream run for about 2.5 hours or so, maybe 3. We'll see. Depends on if anybody jumps in Discord and wants to talk about something. Let me see where we are on the picture count over here. Just shot the 90th frame, so I got 110 more to go to get to the midpoint. Sean Hawkins says he's going to convert an old laptop screen to an FP. What the hell is an FPV monitor, Sean? My acronyms are failing me. Hey, you guys hit the like button or the dislike button. I don't care. Punch one of them. See, 427. Where is this thing settling down at? 185 again. $184.5. That probably doesn't match with what you guys are seeing. And maybe it does. With this delay between the audio ought to be delayed too, though. I guess it will probably synchronize. Looks like 184.5. We'll call it that. So roughly 183.25 is the average of those two extremes. 183.25, and let's average that with the 255 we had on the other end. And that gives us a center of 219. .125. Brian McGuire, hello, sir. How are you? $219. Oh, wow. That's very close to dead center. I got lucky. I think I might have gone a little bit much on the no, wait a minute. Which way was I going? Didn't go quite enough upscale. Probably could do a little better job of centering. It doesn't really change anything. Very slightly. It means that the weights are sitting a little closer to one side than they are the other, but just by a matter of a couple of millimeters. So that's hard to see in the calculations. We could call that a systematic error, I suppose. And maybe I ought to take a look at that. I haven't really, I assume that 2 millimeters out of the distance between the centers hasn't really mattered, but it obviously would change the numbers a little bit. I'll just have to look at it and see if it makes enough difference to be accounting for it. Well, let's see. I don't even know what that is. I don't have all that junk out here. I'll not worry about it. I'll do it later. I guess after this series and after we have enough tests that we feel comfortable with the data we've got, we'll think about putting another type of material in here to test. Bob the Science Guy looked around at granite spheres, 8-inch granite spheres, but they're like $80 a piece. I don't know. Judy wants to know if I'm going to tap on the case at the end of this for Riley. No, I may tap on Riley though. That guy is such a jackass. Hello, Declan. Still wired. That just shows you how unreasonable that clown can be. He asked for 80 minutes with the weights in each of the positions. That's 160. I gave him 200 minutes, 100 minutes on each side. That's 40 minutes but longer test than he asked for. And then 15 minutes beyond that, I go tap on the case and Riley accuses me of sabotaging the damn experiment. What in the hell is wrong with that guy? I have not heard a peep out of him in the last couple of days, which is good. You know, and I'm going to run this past you guys just sitting here in the chat. Just something I was thinking about. And I looked into it just a little bit yesterday. Not a lot. But I was thinking about replicating that goofy thing that he's got and how much trouble it would be. And I don't think it would be some work, but it wouldn't be an enormous amount of work. I'm seriously thinking that might be kind of fun. I can tell you right now, just from looking at it, unless he's got a torsion, from what I've seen of what he's doing, unless he's got a torsion wire that's no larger than 5/1000ths of an inch, he's never going to see anything. And better would be a torsion wire that would be maybe 3/1000ths of an inch. I'm talking like a piece of 40 gauge 3/16 stainless wire, something like that. I think I could pull it off and get enough movement that you'd actually be able to observe it without having to have lasers and all that stuff. But even on a short balance, like maybe certainly less than 12-inch, even on a short balance like that and a long torsion wire, like 6 feet or 2 meter long torsion wire, you're going to end up with a period of oscillation of more than 30 minutes. Mr. Andretti says, was Sleepy's rig partly metal? Yeah, it is. Looks like he's got it in a metal something or the other, cylindrical metal something. What I looked at was just buying maybe a standard old galvanized steel wash tub. I saw one on the internet, and I think it had a diameter of about like 22 inches, something like that. They don't know what they're doing, and they don't. And Riley claims he's got a mathematical engineer. Now that's a branch of engineering I didn't know existed. But he's got a mathematical engineer that's looked at this and assures him that they're doing everything correctly. Yeah, right. I just wish he'd show his work. I wish he would tell us what he's done. But Anthony Riley building a piece of crap that won't work in no way, shape, or form would be indicative of whether this will work or not. You got to be an idiot to think down those lines. And we have the perfect man for the job. We got Riley. Yeah, I'm insulting you, Riley. Get over it. Vern Fondle. That's exactly right. There's such a thing as a non-mathematical engineer. I guess that would be like an alphabetical engineer, huh? I'm just curious as to what a mathematical engineer actually does. Mr. Andret, that's exactly right. He is simply trying to figure out a way to discredit this and having no luck at it. Hopefully nobody's falling for it. Well, all of the flirts, I guess I ought to back up for a second. All the flirts will fall for it because they want to. They absolutely hate the idea that this thing works and works as well as it does. It's driving them crazy. And the crazier we make them, the more it makes me want to do this over and over and over again. 18 people watching. Hey, thanks for showing up on a Tuesday afternoon, guys, girls, men, women, and children. This is a family-friendly event. All we're doing is watching a little red dot. All right, this cup of coffee has reached a critically low level, so I will be right back after I remedy that problem. Oh, that's better. Keep the coffee flowing. Gauge and drifter. If someone can tell us what a mathematical engineer does, I would greatly appreciate it. That's a new one on me. Eleventh Chimp, how are you? Good to see you here. It'll make you blue too. Hello, Dave N. Yeah, that's right. We got technology. So we got about 50 more frames to be to the midpoint of that time lapse. 50 frames would imply 16 minutes. 16 2/3 minutes. So just about, that'll be just about right. I don't know when this last minimum was. We'll let it go. We'll let it go up to the max. And then when it goes back down and hits the extreme at the other end, we'll reverse the masses. What I like about the Cavendish method of analyzing the data is you don't need lengthy running periods. You just need 3 successive extremes. So if you take the last 3 extremes right before you move the thing, and then let it get past the first extreme after you move it, and then take the next 3, that's a good way to, that's about as good a measurement I think as we're going to get. Stephen, and I won't try your last name, buddy. Yeah, this is much more exciting than paint drying. Hello, Bill Devitt. How goes the battle? Well, good, good, good. Just having all kinds of fun. Cajun Drifter, what was your question? Oh, yeah. What does a mathematical engineer? We don't know what a mathematical engineer does. We have no idea. Engineers, mathematicals, I guess. I don't know. It was not a field that was available to me when I was at the university. John Watson, for 5 of those funny looking things, those poundy looking things, and a wholesome, relaxing observation. Yes, sir, it is absolutely wholesome and relaxing. I mean, who could ever get uptight watching this silly thing? Nobody. Mr. Andrews says graphing the results properly seems to have shut up Sleepy for now. Well, they'll just continue screwing around trying to think of something. Well, they've still got the objection that I'm out here within eyesight of this thing, which is clearly not allowed by Cavendish, which is bullshit. That would be one of the objections I think that they'll hang on to. I've heard clowns like Jeremy continue to harp on that. But if my presence out here is having all these effects that they're talking about, why the hell can't you see it in the data? I don't see any aberrations in any of that. Looks like a very smooth, damped oscillation to me. Hello, Irish Stew. Mr. Andrews says mathematical engineers ensure the numbers don't fall over after you've written them down. And Sean, be nice. Don't keep pushing poor Danny Pratt. That boy is about a half a click from going postal on us at any minute anyway. I don't think Cavendish was worried about ether. I really don't. Did I ever use CRC's handbook? No, I didn't. I'll just make the short answer out of it. No, I did not. Although someplace or the other, I think I've got an old copy of Dad's Smoley's tables. Room, yeah, maybe so. Maybe mathematical engineers can actually divide 5 by 0 and come up with a coherent answer. Hey, Cajun, that's a good idea. We need Clive. Where the hell is Clive? Somebody go call Clive and tell him to get in here. We need to know what mathematical engineers do. £10, really? That's a hell of a book. Oh, you know something, Judy? Judy, I'll tell you, I guess Judy probably doesn't mind me saying that she worked for, I'll just say she worked for a boiler company here in the U.S., and I worked for a competitor of that same company. But I ran across one of my former bosses was a refugee from from that same outfit, and he had and gave me a disc copy of their boiler handbook, and it's great. I saw that thing on the computer the other day. I worked for combustion engineering. So I've got a couple of different editions of their big boiler book, but they're pretty handy things to have. At least you got steam tables and stuff like that in the back of them. Mathematical engineers build bridges from even numbers of Lego blocks. Now, there's one of the rules in engineering, Irish Steve. In all cases, you have to make an even number of mistakes. Never make an odd number of mistakes. It's okay if you make an even number of them. So let's see where we're going to now. Where's our little red dot? There it is. Still moving down scale, I hope. And it is slightly. So on this time, I tried to move it the last time at just about the midpoint, what I thought was going to be the midpoint uh, of the lower set of oscillations versus the upper set. But this time, I'm going to move it when it's at its far extreme, and that's going to give us the maximum deflection and oscillation up on the top end. And we'll see what that looks like. So we're not quite there yet. Let's see. I'm kind of ignoring the chat. I'll get back to you guys in a minute. Um, now, there are no combustion engineers. Who said that? Elmix. I worked for a company that had the name Combustion Engineering. They built boilers, really big old boilers. So down around 192, and it looks like that may be about the extreme. So I think I'll go ahead and move these things. Well, I don't know how I got that lucky, but that's exactly dead center of the time lapse. 200 frames showing over there on the camera. So okay, now we'll see what happens. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Yeah, Coline, I mentioned steam tables. Errors cancel. That's right, Andrew. That's why you have to make an even number of errors. Do not make an odd number. As long as you make an even number, they're canceling each other. So you got one of the books from 1906, huh, Judy? I'll bet that's interesting. I bet that makes for interesting reading. That's back in the day when boilers were running 200 or 300 psi, maybe. Steam drums wouldn't even be inside the boiler, they'd be outside. And let's see. Irish, I don't know if Casey Jones had a steam table or not. I have no idea. What's the shortest oscillation measured, Declan? They're all about the same. They're they're all around 960 seconds, thereabouts. Hello to David Oliver, welcome. Declan, I 100% agree with what you say. I've never done anything, any kind of video on Danny Pratt, just because I think that same way with Pete Shea, those guys are too far off center to try pushing on them, in my opinion. I don't want to be responsible for one of those idiots doing something crazy. What if it's electromagnetic attraction? The laser in the room light is electromagnetic. You may have to redo all this, and be careful not to have any way to look at it. Thank you for pointing that out, Barry. I think. I'm sure one of the flurfs can enlighten us as to more ways I could make a mess out of this. Hello, Eric. Everybody say hello to Eric. He is responsible for that very pretty graph you guys have seen. I'm getting some more data, Eric, right now. This time with fewer oscillation periods because I don't really think it needs to run as long as we ran it the last time. So this one's going to be about it's going to be 400 frames instead of 600 here. I've cut it down to 2/3 the length of time. So it's a couple hours instead of 3 hours that we had last time. 2 hours and 20 minutes, I guess. We'll see if that's enough. Eric's the guy that made me aware of this tracker software. And I can use it and have used it, but Eric is really good at it. Bill says Professor Dave trampled all over their electromagnetic forces acting as gravity. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what the next thing is going to be, and this I've already heard this out of Nathan Oakley. Their next bullshit is coming out of them is going to be that gases prove that gravity doesn't work, because if gravity did work, then the gas molecules would all be attracted to each other and they'd just stick together in a big wad, I guess he thinks. He claims he can debunk gravity with a tea kettle. He actually said that. All right, yeah, I'm very happy that the University of Tennessee wants this thing. I'm even happier that they're going to actually use it. I mean, I guess it would be okay to have it just as a static display sitting someplace, but damn, it works good. I mean, it really works very well. And it ought to be used as a teaching aid, not as just a static display. So that's what University of Tennessee has said they would do with it. And I'm quite happy about that. If you don't worry about where the target, just make room for where the target needs to be when you're actually running experiments with the thing. It doesn't use up that much space, a 5 foot by 5 foot area. 7 feet tall, thereabouts. That's all you need. The area expands considerably when you go put the target over there 10 feet away. But you only have to have that when you're actually running the thing, obviously. So. Yeah, Varun, they babble on and on about that electric universe crap. Those guys are crazy. Well, Barry, if you're gonna be anywhere near Knoxville, yeah, hopefully you'd be able to go down there and see it. Back to you saw my contribution? What contribution? Let's see the electric universe. Eric says he left a question for one of the electric universe people. How much, if the Earth's electric field gradient is 100 volts per meter, how much charge would a body have to weigh 1 pound? No answer. Oh, I'm sorry, I read it wrong. Yeah. Sorry, Barry. Harry says the Cavendish apparatus will last long after every flurfer has faded into fantasy. Well, I'll tell you this, as long as the University of Tennessee continues to pay their exterminator and keeps the termites away from this thing, it'll last hundreds of years. Well, maybe the paracord will have to be replaced, but that's about it. Everything else is pretty solid. Ooh, super chat, David Oliver for £5. Thank you, sir. Even plumb lines prove gravity. Hell yeah, they do. And plumb lines near massive mountains are slightly angled. Was that Chenalian or whatever? I can never remember the name of that thing. That big mountain, which was an experiment as a forerunner to what Cavendish did, trying to estimate what the density of the Earth was. Turned out not to be so accurate, but it definitely shows the effect. "29 people watching. Hey, thanks everybody. Appreciate you guys showing up." Haven't been watching a red dot. Hopefully it didn't fall off the screen. Ace Fox 1, welcome. Thank you. Glad you enjoy it. I have a lot of fun doing it. Seattle, pretty place. I've visited a few times, but that's all, just brief visits. Seems like I remember getting wet every time I went there. Judy Bassett for 10 euros. For something fun, oh boy. I'll find something fun. Hey, Real Cygnus, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. I feel like I'm doing the Arwen show here. The good news is, when you watch the Arwen show, you got to look at Arwen. When you come to my show, you don't have to look at my ugly ass. You just get to look at a pretty little red dot moving up and down. What's wrong with the red dot? What's the red dot doing? Well, let me see if I can go to the stream out here. We're going to get much lower magnitude oscillations doing what I just did because, and that's not necessarily a bad thing at all, because I took it at the most at the lowest extreme on that other oscillation, rather than moving the balls at the midpoint, or what I thought was going to be the midpoint of the oscillation. So we'll see how this works out. It'll be a little different look, but there's nothing wrong with that. So we'll see much bigger oscillations on the other side and smaller ones on this side, just because of the point I picked to move the balls. So inertia is not affecting it nearly as much as it did going the other way. Yeah, hey, real. I was just going back looking through the chat. I like this tungsten wire. It behaves quite well. Uh, and I'll be running a few more, at least another probably 4 or 5 more of these tests before we decide we've got enough data to call it a day in terms of measuring G, and then we'll start playing with it just to see what else we can do. But the tungsten wire, I regret now not starting out that way, but hey, it was also interesting to see that you can get usable data using all kinds of different torsion elements. And we've shown that. Yeah, Eric, I've got a time lapse of the balls in the neutral position that I took pretty much immediately after putting the wire in there. I may run another one. I was reading through the information from Pasco on their, store-bought version. They recommend using the extreme positions, but and they point out that you can get slightly different periods depending on which side the balls are on. They recommend running it, measuring the period on both sides and then just averaging that. So I don't know. We'll see. And yeah, the other wire materials definitely gave us useful information. We got useful data from the steel wires for sure, from the beryllium copper wires for sure. I think even some of the stainless stuff found its way in there. Copper was one I could never really do anything with just because I couldn't get other than the beryllium copper, because I could never get enough enough of a magnitude of oscillation. The damn wire ended up having to be so big just to have enough tensile strength. Declan says, consider using canthal wire. I don't even know what it is, Declan, to be honest with you. Probably am showing my ignorance here, but I'm not familiar with that material. Got 25 people watching. Thanks for showing up, everybody. Feel free to join me over in Discord. I think I'm up and running. Let's see. Yeah, it's on over there. Says it is. Yeah, these little oscillations seem to be going from something like maybe 170, 178 up to, what, 192. I was just going back looking at the YouTube stream. So 178 and 192, what would that be? Very roughly. So 185. 185. We had 219 on the other end. 219 minus 185 is magically 34 frigging millimeters. Bingo. Same number we continually get. So all you flat earthers listening or not, it's not a damn accident. And it coincides exactly with what we calculate the deflection should be. Mark 10 says that wire we were talking about is high temperature resistance wire similar to nichrome. Okay. Actually, I think I had a piece of nichrome too that Lefty prepared for me, heat treated for me, and it just went all kinds of crazy. Never could get that thing to settle down. And Irish, yeah, I use guitar string. I've used .008 and .007 guitar strings, and they really work pretty well. They just have a bit of a stability issue, that is all. This tungsten is much more stable. But I saw somebody came up with an old black and white film of a demonstration. It must have been done 40 years ago or more. Where they had built a torsion device actually using magnetic tape, looked like 1/4-inch wide regular magnetic recording tape as the torsion element, and they had bottles of water on their torsion beam and big boxes of sand as the large masses. So you could use all kinds of stuff. Irish thinks I would be. Should have gotten sponsored by Ernie Ball. 007. Yeah, absolutely. We got the James Bond tungsten wire. Eric, yeah, I think Eric sent me that film. I was just talking about. Yeah, they had to take that all the way up to the ceiling. I mean, it was in a really tall tube. You know, I got to thinking about that, Eric, and it probably made a lot of sense. It probably made quite a bit of sense to have a ribbon like that, in that I don't think centering it would be that big a question. Getting it to center and needing a sophisticated device of some sort to be able to adjust it. These little round wires, when you go to put a 7/1000th of an inch diameter round wire in there, you don't have any idea whether you've twisted that thing half a turn or one way or the other. There's no way to tell. Occasionally, I changed the internal masses. I've used two different ones. I used on the other torsion balance, I used 330 gram uh, lead balls on it. This one that's in there right now has 780 gram, 779, I think it actually is. Yeah, for some reason, Irish in the music world, they call it 7 gauge, but it's actually .007. That's the lightest weight guitar string I could find. But I think somebody said there's actually a .006, 6 gauge. I'm not sure. Certainly could be. But you're getting down to a point, when you get down into those sizes, you're getting to a point where it's no longer being used as music wire. It's the little stuff they use to wind springs out of. Yeah, Eric, that's exactly right. You'd have to assume that it behaves like a rectangular beam. But all the calculations are really good for, or to get you in the ballpark. At the end of the day, what tells the tale is the measurement of the oscillation period. A couple of these wires that I tried ended up coming just dead nuts on the calculated period. But then others, like this wire, should be 1,000 seconds, and in reality, it's about 960. But you look at that and you think, what went wrong? And I'll tell you what probably it could be. Just because it says on the package that it's .007, that doesn't mean .00700. It could be .0071 or .0713 or something like that. And that's enough to make 30 or 40 seconds difference in the oscillation period. I think that's where the error comes in. It's just material, the variability of the material. I know the math's correct. I know the engineering is right. I don't have a good micrometer good enough that I could actually measure it. So Huh. David Oliver's talking about his school project. That's interesting. I'd like to hear more about that sometime. But when you say steam, that implies pressure, and I don't want to be around any damn thing that's pressurized that I built. I am not suicidal. My welding skills are absolutely non existent. Well, this will be some interesting data to analyze. I think I'll do another one of these tomorrow. And I'll try for maximum deflection oscillations on that one, just to vary things a little bit. This is going to settle pretty quickly. Ah, Sean, you're bored. Sorry about that, buddy. So UPS is delivering an RC radio, huh? Well, have fun with that, Sean. Well, Dave, um, I guess from the age of about 10 until I was probably 35, I lived with a soldering iron in my hand. So uh, I think I know everything there is to know about soldering. Welding is another issue. I can arc weld a little bit. I can MIG weld a little bit, but almost any idiot can do that if you get the damn machine set right. And I am any idiot, by the way. Did I miss a super chat up here somewhere? Oh, I think I got them. Yeah, I got everybody. Sean, back in the early 70s, I flew radio controlled airplanes. And in those days, radios had names like Orbit and Craft and Proline, and seems like there was at least one fairly popular Japanese brand. I don't remember now who it was. Was it I don't remember anyway. But I'm sure all of that has changed considerably. Hello, Dora. Just here to say goodnight, huh? Okay, well, I'm glad you dropped by. Futaba. Yeah, absolutely. You got it, Sean. Futaba. I remember that now. They were kind of ugly. You got that right, Judy Bassett. Watching the Boilermakers weld Heliarc with in a mirror. It's the wildest thing you've ever seen. And they make the prettiest welds. But you're talking about boiler tubes that are holding 3,400 psi steam pressure. Those welds better be right. And they're pretty much 100% X-rayed, I think, or at least they were in my day. And I can't imagine they ever backed off on it. Hello, Brenda. John's talking about 10-foot long antennas with little flags on the tip. Yeah, the flag had colors too, and it was indicative of the frequencies. And then we used to control our field, our flying field, with the clothespin method. So before you fired your transmitter up, you had to go find the clothespin. If you couldn't find it, you don't turn the damn transmitter on because you'll put somebody's airplane in the dirt. I've seen that happen many times. Be back in 1 second. Well, let's see what's going on here. Dave, you can still find 6040 lead tin solder, but it's kind of hard to find it. Most of the stuff now is a different mixture. I'm not sure what it is. Let me see. I got some over here. Copper, tin, and silver is what it says. The stuff melts at a pretty low temperature. That I like that, and I've really liked it attaching these torsion wires, uh, just so I don't anneal it too much, the wire too much. Actually, David, um, hot rivets. The rivet itself is a good bit smaller than the hole it goes in, but in the process of forming that rivet, it squishes the shank of it, the shaft itself. You're forming the head on the one side, and it's got already got a head on the other side. So you buck it on the one side and bang on it on the other side, and that squishes all of that and fills up the hole. There's no gaps left once it tightens. Once it's all tightened down. I've never actually seen hot rivets other than just on film. Of course, aircraft are still put together with rivets, but those are never heated. They're actually aluminum. I've done some of that too. Actually, done it. I had a friend he's dead now, but he was building a home built kit plane called an RV. He was building an RV-7, and I helped him build the tail plane. It's kind of a two-man job. You need one guy on the rivet gun and another guy bucking the rivet on the back side. But you look back at old bridges and stuff like that made back in the 40s, uh, built in the 40s, and they were all hot riveted together. We didn't start using high strength structural bolts with regularity until way up in the 50s, I don't think. Today, everything is all structural bolts. Yeah, Fudd, Rutan had some wild stuff out there. Dick Rutan is a genius. That guy can come up with the craziest looking stuff that flies great. It's amazing. His entree, I guess, into the composite world was the Long Easy. I think that was the first one he put out. I've seen a lot of those. I've never flown one of them, never flown in one of them. Always kind of wanted to, right up to the point that John Denver killed himself in one of them. And after that, I said, nope, I don't think so. That's right, Fudd. Bert's brother, Dick Rutan, who's a former Air Force pilot, and a girl, and I can't remember what her name is anymore. But Dick and that girl flew the what was the name? What's the name of that airplane? Yeah, non-stop flight around the world. In fact, I have met Bert Rutan a couple of times, and I met Dick Rutan once a couple of years after that flight up at Oshkosh. They're really nice people. Voyager, yeah, that's it. You're right. I am 99% sure that's correct. They had a mock-up, uh, and maybe still do, at Oshkosh. They have a mock-up of the fuselage of the Voyager. Gina Yeager, yeah, that's right. Thanks, Ace. 1986. Okay, well, it was quite a while. I think I met Dick Rutan at Oshkosh maybe in 96, something like that. Andrew at Virgin Galactic, I don't know. Wait. Virgin Galactic is what's his name's company. Uh, I don't know that that's the name of an airplane. It may be. I just lost track. I don't read much aviation stuff anymore. Branson, Richard Branson. You got it, Vroom. Real Cygnus comes in with Branson also. First name Richard. Yeah, and Branson, Virgin Galactic, Branson, and Dick Rutan were all tied up, tangled up in that uh, Spaceship One or whatever they call that thing, which they're still working on, I think. Uh, They're the guys that went after the X Prize and won it, if I'm not mistaken. Burt Rutan's company's called Scale Composites. He's out in Mojave. Right, Ace. Richard Branson owns Virgin Galactic. That's actually an airline. Real says John Denver is much better than I realized as a kid. Awesome pipes and isn't exactly a slouch on an acoustic guitar either. And that's correct. I liked John Denver. I really, really enjoyed his music back in the day. But he bought a Long Easy from somebody, and he was out goofing around with it, and I think they concluded that the fuel selector switch was in sort of an odd position. And they think right after he was doing touch and goes or something, and right after liftoff, he might have realized that he was having engine issues because of the fuel situation, and was in the process of trying to swap fuel tanks, and lost control of the thing. That's what killed him. That was a long time ago, so the story's a little fuzzy in my mind, but he says Rutan's company, Scale Composites, designed and built Spaceship 2. Well, Rutan built Spaceship 1 also, I think, Ace. And that's the one that they won the X Prize with. Let's see how many frames we got left to shoot here. Down to 22 frames. So another time lapse will be forthcoming here in an hour or so. As soon as I get it off the camera and get it uploaded. I'll send you a link, Eric, if you're still watching. Oh yeah, you're watching. I see you. Jeff Bezos has $196 billion. What the hell does anybody do with $1 billion? Much less 196 of them. I mean, come on, that's just absurd. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, that's the way I'll send it, Eric. I'll send you a link on the email. I don't have any problem with anybody having it, but I don't. If I make it public, then it ends up sitting out there right in the middle of my channel, and it's there. It's maybe fun to look at for a minute or 15 seconds or so, but that's it. So that's why I leave them as unlisted. But anybody that ever wants it is more than welcome. I'm not like Riley. I don't hide stuff. All this stuff's available to anybody looking for it. So yeah, Fudd, you're right. I mean, you're not gonna drive down to the bank and say, "I'd like my $196 billion, please." It would take a guy like that a long time to cash out. I'm sure the way it's all tied up. Yeah. So you think Sleepy's trying to use Tracker right now? Maybe so. He was giving me a bunch of crap about manipulating the data, and I jumped all over his ass and told him that wasn't up to us. We don't get to fudge the damn tracker data. Tracker takes the data. We just use what it takes. What an idiot. Yeah, absolutely, Eric. Withdrawing $196 billion would bankrupt a lot of banks, a whole bunch of them. You can bet that money's not sitting in bank accounts. Correct, real. Imagine walking up to the teller's window and saying, "Hey, I'd like 196 billion in 20s, please." Hell, you need 3 tractor trailers to load it. Hello, Dog Walker. Apparently, you haven't been here before. I can tell because you're not blue, but you are now. This is Blue's channel, so everybody gets to be blue. We got a nice group of people that show up in here. We don't have to worry about that moderator crap. Nobody ever acts up. So still got 24 watching. For planning purposes, I don't think this is going to go on more than about another 10 minutes. And then I'm going to quit and go have something to eat. But also for planning purposes, I think I'll do this again, maybe to start the stream at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, something like that. I do one of these tests a day through the weekend, I think that will probably be all the data we'll ever need. Then we can then we can move on to the fun part, do some egg experiments. Oh, David, you're making me hungry. Gilly tried coming in here and calling people names, and he's one of the very few that are actually blocked because of these live streams. I've got probably 30 people blocked on the channel just for being a-holes. I don't mind honest criticism, and you can disagree with me anytime you like, as much as you want to, but don't call me names. And don't come in here calling anybody else names. I won't tolerate it. Cavorite? What's cavorite, Eric? I know what tannerite is. I don't, I don't think I want to be making any tannerite. Eric's, yeah, I'm guessing, yeah, they were all flat earthers. And I don't just block people, I warn them about it. I'll delete their comments and tell them not to do that. And if they do it 2 or 3 times, though, I mean, Hello, Hads. A gravity shield? What? Oh, cool. Okay, H.G. Wells. Yeah, yeah. All right. I'm sure I've read it and forgot all about it. Hey, Stone Monkey. Sleepy's description of his device is Coulomb's torsion balance. Well, Coulomb, as far as I know, with a little research I've done on it over the years, Coulomb was the first guy to actually use a torsion balance, I think. Although there may have been, I'm certainly were other people involved. I just don't know who it was. But that was 10 or 15 years before the Cavendish experiment, which didn't start out as Cavendish anyway. It started out as John Michell. But unfortunately, Reverend Michell failed to plan the date of his death very effectively, so he died before he could ever use the thing. Cavendish ended up with it by way of a guy that's got about 5 first names and a last name of Wollaston. Who didn't have the ability to do it, so he passed it on to Cavendish, and that's the sort of the trail. Eric says Sleeping Warrior actually called it coulombs. Yeah. Coulomb had a torsion balance, but his torsion balance was really nothing like this torsion balance. All right, very cool. We've got the camera now creating a video for me. We got video, all right. All right, that's going to be different for sure. Big swings on one end and little swings on the other end. Shouldn't make any difference, though. So, get this stuff put away. So I think I'll do this again in the morning and start the stream probably around 10 o'clock, something like that. If you're absolutely bored out of your mind, feel free to come join me, keep me company. And with that, unless anybody's got any questions, I believe that I'm going to put an end to this and go eat something. No, Ace, I had a hard time believing that too. It's as I said in the video I put out on him, it's just the guy needs to stop projecting his lack of character onto me. We're all perfectly aware of the fact that a guy like Sleeping Warrior is willing to lie, cheat, steal, and do anything else he has to try to win the argument. I, on the other hand, am not, nor are any of you guys. And it's quite insulting to have some clown like that accuse you of being dishonest. 10 a.m. which zone? That would be the Eastern zone, Dave. Good to see you, Irish. If I failed to call anybody's name out or mention it, it wasn't intentional. Certainly did not mean to. So I guess with that, I'm not seeing any questions other than the time question. I'm going to end the stream, and I'll see you guys in the morning.